Welcome to the world united. Welcome to the world united.
Next speaker is Dr. Deepak Ranade, neurosurgeon. He is going to speak on fidelity of the senses in relieving the ultimate truth.
Is connected? I'll tell you when to start. I'll tell you when to start. Good afternoon to all the very special delegates at this very august assembly of spiritual seekers. It was a wonderful experience to hear Sadhvi Bhagwati and Hasya Yogi also. And it's a great honor to share the dais with one of my very esteemed teachers and guide, Dr. Bhatkar, who is one of the most eminent computer scientists of the country. Whilst I have been attending this conference for the past 2 days, I was just thinking about this, that we are all the time talking about spirituality in a very intangible perspective. That is something which I have all along been fascinated by, trying to understand what is consciousness, what is the brain, how exactly does it work. And that is one of the reasons why I wanted to take up neurosurgery. To continue in the lighter vein of the Hasya Yogi, we were all talking about this non-duality and world unity. So there was this very famous anecdotal experience of Shankaracharya's disciple. He was being chased by an elephant, and after hearing all the very profound wisdom of Advaita and non-duality, the disciple, while running, he said suddenly, "Oh hell, this elephant and me, there's no difference. I think we are the same." So he stopped in his tracks. And sure enough, that elephant came and trampled all over him. And that disciple was extremely, in a very painful, bruised state. He went to the master and he said that, "Master, what is this? This is non-duality, and I ended up being trampled by this elephant for no fault of mine." So Shankaracharya, I believe in Advaita. So the Shankaracharya replied, "Yeah, but unfortunately the elephant believed in Dvaita, so he was in duality when he attacked you." So I have all along been in this conflict of trying to get the tangible spirituality into the domain of something that is more tangible, and what exactly happens in the brain, and what exactly, can there be a scientific perspective to this? And this whole session was about the occult, in inverted commas, the occult aspect of spirituality. But is it really occult? So that got me thinking about, what exactly do you define by occult when we talk of the mysticism or the occult or something which is intangible? We call something that is not perceivable by our senses, sense organs, our routine sense organs, as something that is mystical or something that is intangible. And then it gets me thinking that when you look at the vast leaps that telecommunications have made, when we see the internet or when we see the Bluetooth, it's something that we just don't figure out, how does this information get transmitted? But it surely does get transmitted. So it got me thinking of trying to understand that, do our sense organs really have the ability, the capability, and do they have the fidelity to really transmit the truth to us? And is this truth something that we can really perceive and understand or comprehend through our sense organs? Towards this exercise, I downloaded one small film from the YouTube which tries to put this in a better perspective. I'd like you all to see the 6-minute film on this, and then I'll continue my talk thereafter. In case any one of the dignitaries on the dais would like to see the film, they can go downstairs and have a look, because it's an interesting film.
All the information that we have about the external world is conveyed to us by our 5 senses. The world we know of consists of what our eyes see, our ears hear, our noses smell, our tongues taste, and our hands feel. Man is dependent on only those 5 senses since birth. That is why he knows the external world only the way it is presented by these senses. Yet, scientific research carried out on our senses has revealed very different facts.
I could get through the gist of what I was trying to get across. That effectively when I look at anything that I'm seeing which my sense organs are giving information to me about, it obviously is something of a program in the brain which has got a very, very profound, which develops a very profound conviction and a sort of a belief that what I'm seeing outside is actually the truth. But in reality, it might just be electrical impulses which are processed by the brain, and they give us the impression of what we touch, or it could be just like a hologram which has got actually some matter that we feel. So then it lends a little bit of credibility to what when our ancient scriptures, when I did get the opportunity to read up some of the sacred text of our written by our saints, and when they talk of the world and everything being an illusion, so it could well be possible that we are what we conceive as matter, or what our sense organs give us the information that this is matter. In reality, it may not be what the reality is, and it is just a program which is unfolding. And surprisingly, we have such a tremendous amount of conviction that this is the truth. And that is where this whole spirituality domain begins, because at one end we are looking at matter and something that is very tangible. And at the other end, our brain is trying to tell us that, no, look, this is not the truth. We have to rise above this. So I find this kind of a thought process a bit hypocritical. I have got to understand, if I can give a scientific perspective to making people realize that what we actually claim to look at as matter is actually nothing but electrical impulses. Then the next question comes as to where does this get recognized? Where does this actually, what is the source code of this entire program? And then it's a very interesting reference that I got when I was reading some of the scriptures, where it is said that the entire universe, whenever I do neurosurgery and I operate on the brain, it is a absolutely spellbinding experience when I remove the portion of the skull and I see the brain actually. And to think of this, that the entire universe and what all it has and what all it contains is actually being perceived by this 2 kilograms of gray and white matter tissue, an organ. And it somehow doesn't seem to be making any sense that how can this particular, like we saw that the vision is finally destined to go near the occipital lobes. So every particular input of sensory data that we get is actually destined to go to a particular spot in the brain. And that is how we are perceiving the world as we see it around us. Another to my note when I was reading about, there's a new branch of new technology that is coming up, which is actually showing up, which is called as a PET scan, which actually shows which part of the brain is functioning when a particular activity is being done. So using this technology, they found out that near the superior parietal lobule, that is somewhere near the vertex of your head, there is a center. And the center, the function of that center is to exactly help me define where I, in inverted commas, I end and the universe outside, what is outside of me begins. So that particular area is very, very important in helping me delineate my own self vis-a-vis the universe. And it was found out that when people went into deep meditative states, or when they went into states of feeling one with the universe, they found out that that particular area in the brain, which is the superior parietal lobule, actually was suppressed. And which means that that sense of discreteness that is there, which that function is of that superior parietal lobule, once that is inhibited, it automatically results in a feeling of oneness with the whole universe. So I do feel that in the progressive coming years, as science and technology makes leaps and bounds and advances, it is extremely important to probably help us understand, because if I am told something constantly about something that is intangible, something that is so much in the domain of experience. In fact, with the advent of quantum physics because the Large Hadron Collider being in the news, quantum physics has revolutionized our understanding of the physical world. And it is filled with paradoxes. It is filled with absolutely seemingly unimaginable situations. It is inconceivable. So I have now realized one thing, that probably the intangibility that is thrown open by quantum physics is actually no different from the intangibility that we talk of when we meet in such august assemblies and talk about consciousness and love and peace, and these are intangibles. But at some point, these two lines are going to intersect. And so coming back to this whole topic which we began with about the fidelity of our senses, I do feel that the existing senses, the sense organs that we possess are grossly incompetent to be able to perceive or to experience that state, and which is what probably might be happening when we talk of yogis doing sadhana or yogis doing some kind of a meditation, or it could be in effect trying to restructure the neural pathways in the brain which make us perceive the existing reality. The universe is not, there's no change outside, the change is within, and that is what Bhagavati also mentioned, that probably the change ought to come from within, and most of the speakers said that. And it does seem to me that the change ought to happen from within us. It ought to change our own perception, and till such time we are going to be dependent entirely on our sense organs to try to make sense of this whole universe, the whole manifestation. It is going to fall grossly it's going to fall short of us really experiencing the state of oneness. And as one of our very learned scholars and philosopher saints from Maharashtra, Santa Jnaneshwar had mentioned, that he gave a very beautiful analogy to this. He said that this whole universe is the manifestation of consciousness, and it is like this whole manifestation is a reflection of that consciousness. That consciousness is seeing its own self as if a reflection of its own self in a mirror. So probably all this domain of consciousness, and interestingly for most of you all, I'd like to tell you one very interesting fact in neurology, that to this date it is unknown as to where exactly does the center of consciousness lie in the brain. It is unknown. We know which part of the brain is responsible for movement, which part of the brain is responsible for sensations, but hitherto it is unknown which part of the brain is actually responsible for being conscious. It is also in our scriptures mentioned that probably consciousness may not reside in the heart, as has come across in my readings. So consciousness, what is the substrate of consciousness? Is it the neurons? Is it these 100 billion neurons which are actually triggering and firing absolutely in synchronicity and making us aware of the world? Or to conclude my talk, because I think we are running short of time, I'd like to end my talk with a take-home message which I'd like all of you all to think about in your leisure time. My understanding of the brain is, in a simple line, the brain might just be a program which generates us total conviction in this illusion into believing that it is a reality. That is how the brain might be at the end of it all. I am extremely privileged to share the dais with Dr. Bhatkar, and I think he'll be talking on science and spirituality as the next speaker. I thank you all for your kind attention. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, sir.